it's wild thinking about how even just now, within like millennials and Gen Xers,
Mm-hmm.
the increase in discussion about mental health has, you know, grown rapidly in the last few years. But I can only imagine like how much our parents' generation has normalized the idea of, oh, if there's something wrong, you keep moving on, just
Mm-hmm.
power through it. And I think about like a lot of these older generation immigrants who are the very stoic type, the ones who just don't really say anything, who keep to themselves. And you know, I think for a lot of immigrant families, like there isn't like there isn't that outlet. You know, they don't really talk about these
Mm-hmm.
things. There might be gossiping, but there isn't much discourse in terms of like, why are you that way? Why are you hurting? Um,
Mm-hmm.
for you, like, how do you go about talking to somebody who, say, for example, has never talked about mental health for, you know, they're in their 60s or whatever, and they've never really
Mm-hmm.
taken seriously their mental health. How would you, as a mental health professional, go about cracking that open?
Um, I think for people who are obviously not used to asking for help, especially the older generations, in a sense, I don't think we need to bombard them with that information. I think we just need to have conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk to them, have them open up to you. That's, to me, that's how I talk to everybody. I don't say like, oh, you should seek this help,
Mm-hmm.
or I think you need to do this to
Correct.
get yourself better. I always think conversations open things up. If you talk to someone and ask them about, hey, how was your upbringing, or what did your family do? I think the more you talk to the older folks, the more they'll open up to you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think telling them like, oh, mental health is important and you guys don't know anything about it and this is what you need to do. That's, everyone gets defensive when it comes to stuff like that.
Correct.
When you put those things onto them that they're not used to, things
Yeah.
that are like new things to them. Like, what do you mean talk to a professional? That's so intimidating.
Yeah,
So
because
I
it makes them feel like they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, yeah. So to me, I just think having conversations, it doesn't have to be about mental health. It could be about anything. I think at some point, once someone warms up to you, then you can kind of slowly get there. And sometimes people of that age and that generation, they don't open up, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but you have to take things for what they are. And if their lives are overall okay and there isn't anything tragically going on or there isn't any tragedy in their lives, like, they kind of go on. And so we really can't force this idea on a lot of the older generations. I think you can talk to them though, because for
Mm-hmm.
sure, like my dad is of that age and that's how I talk to him. Like I just talk to him normally, like, Dad, can you tell me about, my childhood
Mm-hmm.
or when you were younger, when you married mom, how did that go? Like, how was your marriage? Like, did you guys know anything about marriage at that age? Because they married pretty young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's how I bring it up because I want to know like how he was a husband.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things he did to my mom, or what kind of things she did to him. Who taught you guys about marriage? That's what I would say. Like, how did you know what to do in a marriage? And he would say, well, it's just a culture thing. Like you're expected to get married. It's not like there's a book or someone is telling you what to do in that
Mm-hmm.
marriage. You kind of,
That's just the
you kind of,
rule.
that's just, you kind of do what other people do in
Yeah.
the culture. You marry young, start having kids, there's that process. But when I ask him certain things like, well, how did you know how to be a husband? Like, did your dad teach you this? It's almost, they don't give you information, number one. They don't
Mm-hmm.
open up that easily. But like my dad and I haven't really had a relationship. We left them behind in Somalia. So he's never moved to the West.
Ah,
So
okay.
so he had that against my mom for the longest. He was holding that grudge against her. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't want us to leave. But now, kind of trying to build a relationship with him is kind of like going backwards because I want him to open up to me, which he kind of is starting to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's little by little baby steps. Every conversation, it's going to be just a tiny bit more information from him. Like I
And
tell him, like, tell me about my childhood. Like, what was I like as a kid? What were you like as a kid? how were you, being with my mother? How were you a husband? And he used to tell me like he was very angry. He was an angry person because he didn't want to be married at a young age.